Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Posture Labs and Pose Workshops. So in episode 1, we covered Tadasana, Mountain Pose, and Uttanasana, Upward Salute. So if you haven't checked those out, make sure to check them out now or after this one. And today we are going to be covering 2 poses that are pretty similar. Actually, probably 3 poses that are pretty similar. Uttanasana, forward fold, Padahustasana, big toe grab, and Padangustasana, hands under your feet. Or Padangustasana is big toe grab, Padahustasana, hands under feet. So these are all kind of interrelated poses. They have very similar alignment, just a few differences, mostly with the hands on this one. So we're going to meet in a forward fold. If you haven't already warmed up, I would recommend doing a little spinal warm-up. I do have some videos for spine health, so maybe doing a few twists, some back bends, cat-cows, a few side body stretches. Make sure you're a little bit warmed up. If you just exercised or did a yoga class, you should be good to go. We're going to meet in a standing forward fold. So the most common issue I see when I say standing forward fold, people lock out their legs and end up rounding their back. Now, this isn't necessarily wrong, but we can definitely make it more accessible, easier, and more beneficial for the student. First of all, if feet together ever doesn't feel good, you are always welcome to take your feet out the width of your hips. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to always cue the feet together since that is how I was taught and how most teachers will teach the poses. However, for some poses, maybe you take your feet out the width of your hips and that's totally okay. Now, I want you to start in your forward fold with your big toes to touch, a little sliver between your heels. Bend your knees a lot so you can rest your stomach onto your thighs. So for me, maybe you're sending your butt back quite a bit. Now, I want you to think about your stomach and your ribs almost glued to your thighs. And then as you get the flexibility, you start to lift your hips up. You're not sacrificing the connection between your stomach and your thighs though. So as soon as you start to lift away, maybe that's too much and we come back just a little bit. So the pose might not look exactly how you want it to right away, and that's okay. It's always better to get the alignment fundamentals down, learn it the correct way. You're going to reduce your risk of injury. You're going to be able to progress to other poses correctly. And I always think that doing something the correct way, even if it takes a little bit longer, is always worth it than finding a shortcut. So try this way first, bending the knees, resting your stomach on your thighs, thinking about crawling the ribs down the thighs, and then your forehead goes in the direction of your shins. So there's going to be a little rounding in the upper back, but you'll gradually work to straighten your legs as you find more flexibility. And then you want to try to line your fingertips up with your toe tips. So your hands are outside your feet. Palms preferably flat down. If that's not possible, you can always do fingertips or you could use blocks. Your elbows go back like chaturanga arms. And while you're in your fold, you don't just, like I mentioned in last posture lab, you don't really get to a pose and check it off and be done with it. You have to keep the engagement as you stay in the pose, and that's going to help to tone your muscles, increase your flexibility and endurance. So while you're in your forward fold, you're not just hanging out and relaxing. You're feeling a gradual tip of your weight forward. Your inner thighs are squeezing, and you can almost envision your inner thighs spiraling towards each other and back behind you. So this is going to help your inner thigh engagement. Your belly button will be pulling up and in. If you can envision your belly button going back towards your tailbone. So the more you squeeze the front of your body, the more length you'll get in the back side of your body. So there's always a little bit of a trade-off. You know, when you do a side bend, you squeeze one side, engage, engage, so you can get a nice big stretch on the other side. Same thing in a forward fold. You're squeezing a lot through the front of the body so you can get that nice stretch along the entire back side. So I want you to think while you're in your forward fold, constant engagement, inner thighs, pulling the belly button up and in towards the tailbone. Then you almost feel like there's a weight in the crown of your head, sinking the crown of your head down towards the mat. Pull your shoulders up away from your ears so there's less tension. Try to tip your weight forward without gripping the mat with your toes. Focus on your exhales. That will help you fold. And then as you become more flexible, maybe you work to press the knees back a little bit, eventually coming into straight legs. Uttanasana. Whew. It's a pretty deep forward fold if you do it with straight legs. Regardless, there's no right or wrong way to do the pose. We've all learned in some way. So if you don't get into that straight leg variation right away or within a few weeks or even months, that's okay. You'll notice your hamstrings, your legs start to feel a little bit better, a little bit looser as you keep progressing. Now, you are always welcome to use blocks here as well. If even getting the hands down to the mat is not possible, that's no problem. Hands to blocks. Maybe you gradually walk the hands back with the blocks besides the feet, keeping the stomach glued to the thighs. Then you turn the blocks to the shortest edge, and then eventually hands to the mat. So it's all a progression. There's no magic trick to make it happen right away, which is also the beautiful thing, is that it takes some hard work and dedication to your practice. All right, so we did Uttanasana, standing forward fold. You'll see this a lot of times in a sun salutation before you jump back. So I did do a sun salutation and chaturanga tutorial a few months ago. If you're interested in that, you can definitely check that out as well. It's pretty useful if you practice a lot of vinyasa classes. Our second two poses, very similar to this, but a little bit different. Padangustasana is big toe grab. So you're going to take your feet here, the width of your hips apart. If you don't know the width of your hips, it's usually about 2 fists. So you can take your 2 fists together, step your feet on the outside, and that is going to be about the width that you would like. Your toes pointing forward. Again, bend your knees here if you need. You're going to take your peace sign fingers, your second finger and your middle finger together. Slide those 2 fingers in between your big toe and your second toe. So your 2 peace sign fingers go in between your big toe and your second toe. They're going to wrap around the bottom. So you'll actually be stepping on the tips of your second and your middle finger. Your thumb will cap the big toe. So pressing the thumb into the front, the tip top of the big toe. Not on the nail, but capping the top of it, so the tip. So peace sign fingers in between the big toes, thumbs cap the big toe. From here, you want to inhale, lengthen your spine as much as you can. Exhale, fold. Now you're crawling again your ribs down your thighs, sinking the crown of the head. The elbows are going to go out to the side and a little bit back. So you're really using the strength of your arms to fold yourself in half. You're, of course, engaging your inner thighs and your core like we did in Uttanasana, but this time you're also getting to use the strength, the pull of your arms to fold yourself forward. Now, as you do this, you want to gradually tip your weight a little forward so you can feel the tailbone lift up. Shoulders, again, away from the ears. Squeezing the core, relax your neck completely. So you're gazing back between your shins. We usually hold here for about 5 breaths. And then on your inhale, halfway lift. and release. You get a nice release through the shoulders on that one, and it's almost a little bit easier to get a deeper fold because you're getting to use your body as leverage and use your upper body strength to help you assist into the fold. So Padahustasana is very similar. You, instead of grabbing your big toes, you're going to take your same setup. Feet are the width of your hips. This time you slide your hands underneath your feet, palms face up. So you're trying to get your toes as close to the wrist crease as possible. That's going to get you a better stretch on your wrists, a little bit more relief. So if you can only get onto like the fingertips, I really recommend bending the knees a little more and then trying to get the toes up towards the wrist crease. You're gradually tipping your weight forward so you almost feel like a nice massage onto the palms or even into the wrists. Think about kind of somersaulting yourself forward. Of course, you don't want to go that far, but you're tipping the weight forward, which helps the tailbone lift and get a nice stretch through the wrists. To begin, you inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Again, elbows out to the sides on this one. Lift the shoulders away from the ears. Gradually tip your weight forward. The shoulder blades away from each other. Crown of the head sinking. Squeeze your thigh muscles. 3. Focus on your exhales. 2. And 1. Inhale, halfway lift. Release your hands and rise up to stand. So those two poses, maybe the hardest part is getting used to stepping on your hands. If you have a wedding ring or anything else, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, so you can always take that off first. If you're in a class and you don't want to go through the hassle of taking off jewelry, a good alternative to this is to grab the front of your ankles, inhale, lengthen, and then still use the strength of your arms, elbows go out to pull yourself into a fold. So you're gonna get the same benefit in the lower back and the hamstrings. The only thing you're not getting is the nice little massage on your hands, which actually feels quite good once you kind of get over the fact that you are stepping the bottoms of your feet on your palms and maybe touching your face. It is kind of gross, but I think people tend to forget about that after they practice the pose more and more. So these three poses, Uttanasana, Padangustasana, and Padahastasana, are all similar in technique, but they all have their own unique characteristics and benefits. So give these a try. I teach a lot of these in my vinyasa classes that you'll find on my channel, and let me know what you think. The poses can be very challenging, even though they look easy or uncomplicated. They can be very challenging on your body, especially if you have tight hamstrings and calves, which most of us do. So the more you practice them, the easier they become. Make sure you keep engaging the front of your body, especially your Mula Bandha. And this time we're even using our Uddiyana Bandha. So if you watched my last pose workshop, we talked a lot about the Mula Bandha and your root lock. You're also using your Uddiyana Bandha, which is going to be more in your upper diaphragm. So we already talked about the root, the pelvis, and then you're kind of pulling your belly button and your upper abdomen in on this one as well. So feeling all of that engage around your core is going to help you fold more and protect your lower back if you have any lower back pain. Forward folds are also great for lower back pain, so even if it doesn't look perfect, try to practice these and give it your fullest effort. So do the engagement, don't just slump into it. You'll probably start to notice your lower back feels a little bit better, or at least I hope so. I hope you learned something from this video. Make sure to check back next week for our next posture lab. Thank you so much for joining, and namaste.